We're live. We're live.
Okay. Hi, welcome everybody. This is stream number 4 for the social streams. And sorry. So we'll also be doing some sprinting, but we'll be doing some more talking as well. And I have 2 lovely co-hosts with me right now, and then Shannon from SD Houston will be joining us later. So I'm going to let my co-hosts introduce themselves. Dolores, you want to go first?
Sure. So I am Dolores Medill. I like to call myself a storyteller because I enjoy stories in all forms. I'm a gamer. I write writing sci-fi romance right now, and I write poems. And yeah, I also do commissions for poems for gifts like for cards and stuff like that on my Ko-fi if you want to check that out.
I love that. I'm Jen. I'm from Jen's Bookshelf here on YouTube. I do book stuff on YouTube and some authorly stuff as well. Yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm on the socials. I'm on the socials.
Yeah. And then my name's Rachel. That's the R and the RK for the Stumbling Bear. And on my channel, I mostly am doing booktube content, but I also like to write, and I tend to write more fantasy than science fiction, but I read more science fiction than fantasy. And that's just because I can't write the genre that I'm reading.
Oh, that's neat. I don't think I've ever met anyone like that.
Yeah. Got really a lot of writing done during college when I was reading all the nonfiction. Then all the ideas would happen, and I would have to write fiction in order to focus on my studies.
Yeah, I didn't have time in my brain for any writing when I was in university.
Me either.
I'm an English major, so there was too much to read and write anyways.
Yeah.
So
well, then in order to write my papers, I would then have to read fiction. So I did more writing at the beginning of the semester, and I did more reading at the end of the semester for the fiction items.
I like that. It's a good balance in your brain.
Yeah, no, I was in nursing school when I was in college, and I had no time. I had barely time to sleep.
Yeah, my college roommate was a nursing major, and same thing. She would stay at the library studying until it closed, and then she would come back to our dorm room, and she would study until 2 a.m. when her light would wake me up, and I'd be like, "Turn off the light! I'm going to murder you." Because I like my sleep.
I do too, but university wrecked it for me. Wrecked it for me.
All right. So I know that I'm planning to do NaNoWriMo. Wow, I can't speak today. What about you guys?
Yeah, I'm going to do a extreme nano this go around, which is I did a challenge back in June where I wrote a 70,000 word novel in 30 days. So I'm going to essentially do that again. So we're going to find out if that absolutely wrecks my mental health. But I know that that's usually what my word count ends up being if I'm doing a not as complex fantasy novel as a high fantasy would be. Those are usually in the 100,000 word realms, which is not possible to do in a month. That would kill me. But yeah, that's my plan. I'm going to be working on book 2 in my cozy fantasy series that I'm hoping to start publishing next year. But yeah, that's my plan. Extreme nano.
Well, I'm doing the reverse of that. And I'm just doing nano for the community and the vibes. I'm in the middle of writing my sci-fi romance, and I'm just I'm just going to have my normal streams and take advantage of other people's extra streams and just write and chill.
Yeah. And I know I'm doing nano, but I have no project specified for it. I my normal habit is to take the first day of November off and then the last day of November. And so on the first day of November, that is when I will figure out what I'm writing. Because in the past, when I have planned it out, I had everything set up, and then the day of, my brain went, and now you're going to write this. I was just like, I'm just going to embrace it. I'm a mood reader. I'm going to be a mood writer.
I like that. It terrifies me because I need to plan everything really specifically to be able to do anything, especially when I'm doing something with momentum like Nano requires, right? Mm-hmm. So it terrifies me to do anything without planning. So I'm definitely a planner when it comes and a plotter when it comes to writing. But
and I watched your vlog for the writing, even your bigger project with Second Story, and I'm just like, oh, I would love to be able to do that, but my brain won't let me.
Yeah, my brain thrives on organization. Even though I am a mood reader, I thrive on organization and having that accountability that like vlogging and the internet has. So as long as I got that accountability and the pressure there, I'm like, I've set myself a challenge. I must do it. It helps.
So how many years have you both done Nano?
I have no idea.
I think I've only done it 4 years. I know the first year I was like, I'm going to do this thing. And it was before I had any like internet presence. And I lasted like a week and failed miserably because I was still in nursing school. I was like, I'm going to try this. And no.
And November is final paper month, right? So there's no way. I remember being in university and one of our friends at the time was like, have you heard of NaNoWriMo? And I'm like, no, I'm going to look this up. And I got, I think, 30K in, which was a feat even with all the final papers in my English degree. So I was like, this is enough. And I don't think I tried it properly again for a couple years. But I think the first time I won Nano was in 2019. And then I did 2020. And then I missed 2021. And I'm going to be back here. But I've done also like camps and stuff. So
I've never like traditionally won Nano because I've never been able to write that much in a short amount of time.
Yeah.
But I did finish my book last year at the end of November, ironically.
That's technically winning, right? Because Nano's whole thing is having a finished draft by the end of the month. That's winning.
That's
you
true.
did it.
I don't think I wrote 50,000 words though. I think I don't know how much I did, but I ended up finishing the book ironically at that same time.
Perfect. That's perfect.
On stream live. So.
Oh, that's even better because then you have people to celebrate with, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God. I know I won at least once officially through the website because I got my code for Scrivener to get 50% off of Scrivener, which is wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's actually how I got mine. I remember that too. I did have one year where I wrote 30,000 and then my story was done. And I'm like, and this is a novella, not a novel. Great, but I finished.
Yeah, which is better than nothing.
Yeah.
How many years have you been doing it, Rachel?
This is going to be my 10th year.
Wow.
I actually didn't find out about it until after I was out of college. So as you guys were talking about, I was like, why did I not do this? Oh, wait, my first year I did it. I had graduated, so I was done.
Yeah, that's nice. Man, that feeling of graduating and having all the time in the world, it's so nice.
Though I did try Nano, I did do Nano while I was doing my master's, and that was the year that I finished my novella, but it wasn't 50K.
That's still better than nothing, in my opinion. What about you guys watching?
Wow, Shannon's been doing Nano since 2011. She said she's been consistent.
Yeah.
Nothing consistent. Yeah. I think it depends on the year. November is such an interesting time of year to have it because it's almost the end of the year. If you are in like specific professions, that's when things start kicking up for end of year stuff. So you just lose time. Or if you're in school, that's final paper season. Like it's a lot to do.
And in America, we have a holiday, so...
Yeah, I forgot about American Thanksgiving.
Yep.
I was like, oh yeah, that's a thing. Canadian Thanksgiving's in October, so it's already done.
Oh, okay.
It's October. It's done.
So Natalie is going to be a rebel, and she's going to continue working on flash fictions. I don't know if either of you guys have seen her channel, but she's been working on her flash fiction project for a while now. I really enjoy her videos as well, as she will talk through the process.
I haven't watched any of her recent videos, but yeah.
I've been woefully behind on a lot of I can't type and talk at the same time. A lot of AuthorTube people. So this is exciting for me. I get to meet new people. Meet new people in the community.
Yeah.
I'll have to check out
I've kind of
these videos.
behind too, but that's because there's a bunch of really exciting things happening in the gaming world right now. So that part of all my social stuff has been taken over by that. So
I love that.
And Shannon's like, yay for meeting new people.
Agreed. I love the internet for the ease in which you can meet people, for sure. Because, I live in Canada, in the dab smack middle of Canada, so it's there's not many people here that I know, at least, that are locally online. So everyone that I know is either in the States or Toronto or Vancouver, Canada. But it's always fun to meet people online. Like you guys.
I know after events like these, my subscription list all of a sudden gets longer, and I'm like, oh, hey, more people to watch.
Which is always so lovely.
All right. Well, would you guys like to jump in and do a sprint?
Sure.
Sure.
All right. Do you guys have a preference? I know I mentioned before the stream that I like doing shorter sprints, but what about you two?
I like to start with a shorter one, at least. And I don't usually sprint for any longer than 35 minutes myself, but I'm open to all lengths of sprints.
Yeah, I don't usually sprint more than 25, so.
Well, then let's go ahead and start with a 15-minute sprint.
Yeah, that sounds good. I have no idea what I'm going to work on, but it sounds good. We open up Procreate again.
All right. And I realized I started that before getting everything up. You can tell I'm pretty new to this. Sorry.
It's all good.
You're good. It's a learning curve.
There's a lot of stuff going on when it comes to StreamYard.
It's also nice, though, because it's not as confusing as, OBS is sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. And there we go.
I don't know why he's still going off. Little tomato timer.
I think I hit play again.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh.
You got the angelic thing going on.
Yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, that's because the window faced west. I wanted the office that with the east, but that was also where the internet connection was. So it's easier for my husband to have that as his gaming office.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So I will just turn it. Right.
How did you guys do that sprint?
Good.
Same. I actually did right. I wrote 274 words of just trying a story concept out to see, do I like this? Since I'm reading sci-fi right now, it's probably going to be more of a fantasy or a historical. That's all I know.
Nice. If you had to write in historical right now, what period would you want to research for it?
Well, I was kind of interested in the 1300s because it's not one I see a lot.
Yeah, no.
What would be
is that when all the pirates
during
were
that?
thing?
Huh?
What would be during that time period?
There were some different wars going on.
Okay.
And also I was interested in how the bubonic plague was affecting history.
Oh, okay.
The buboes, yes. I was wrong. Pirates were in the 1600s.
That's why I was like, I needed an event to figure out where in the timeline this was. I was like, wait, what? The number means nothing to me.
Yeah. I don't know. When were the Tudors in power? The Tudors were in power. I don't know. I don't know history well enough to rattle off dates. That'd be really cool.
After the bubonic plague, right? Or
I think
before?
Well, so the bubonic plague, from what I had studied or had briefly studied, kind of came back multiple times. But it looks like
I guess I'm referencing like before the Renaissance era, like.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like the 1300s is like the later part of the Middle Ages.
Yeah, because Henry the VII reigned in the late part of the 1400s. So the Tudors were in the vicinity after the bubonic plague.
Yeah.
So it was interesting looking at the different like plagues that have gone on in the world. And like what that special concoction of deadly and contagious was for them.
Right.
And then also, how did people react to them?
Yeah. There's always really interesting like popular culture stuff going around on plagues and stuff. I think there's always, especially I think in the 19th century and the 20th century, whenever they had their plagues, it was always like a fashion change right afterwards because people were stuck at home, right? So the fashions got more comfortable like we have. And it's like this big change after that for different fashion stuff and things that are going on in popular culture, which I always find really interesting.
Also, my primary job is I work in a health department. So with COVID happening and just seeing how everyone reacted, I'm like, how is this normal? Is this normal how people react to like diseases? Yeah, no, this is.
We have not changed. Humans are humans.
Yes. So Amy says that she is also outlining a project for her NaNoWriMo.
Amy, if you're still here, if you're still floating, what are you going to be working on for NaNoWriMo? Do tell the crowd. Do tell the chat. Yeah, that sprint was good. I actually started, I got distracted by an email from Old Navy having a big old sale. And I was like, oh, yes, I need to get on that. And then I was like, no, actually, I need to actually do some work. And I started breaking down my Scrivener file into individual scenes so I can start writing down like the plot stuff. I will be back in a hot second. That's my father.
Nice. And then Shannon said during the sprint that she was working on video editing.
So. Yeah. I can't do any video editing while I'm streaming. I think it's more my laptop and not my internet that just can't handle such big softwares going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. Yeah. I had to get a new computer probably a year or so ago because my old one just decided it was not going to cooperate with filming videos because I tend to use my computer to film videos.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because I have a gaming laptop. It's two giant softwares going at the same time.
Mm-hmm. No, I can totally see that. Yeah. My bachelor's was in film and media studies, so I do have a pretty nice I have a pretty nice editing software that I got while I was a student because it was on a great discount.
Yeah,
and luckily it's like an app version, so it is able to come with me through all my computer changes.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, so it doesn't typically like drain my battery or like compete with other programs. So
that's nice.
And then we'll show Jen when she gets back as well. But Amy did respond. She says that she's working on her drafting the third book of her Guardians of the Sixth Gate series. And it's her final book.
Guardians of the Sixth Gate. That sounds like it could be like a fantasy portal kind of thing. As I speculate just off the title.
And that does happen to me as well, as I hear music and then it gets stuck in my head, especially from different like lyrics that people will do.
Mm-hmm. But I started the poem that I wanted to get done at some point this weekend. So I've been putting it off. But
And now is this for you? This poem is for you, or is this one of the ones that you do for other people?
This one's for me. I'm gonna post it on my Instagram as like an ad, sort of, but because it's for the Day of the Dead. So.
Okay, nice. And this is awesome, Amy. Thank you for sharing.
YA fantasy romance. Okay. First book comes out. Oh, on Halloween. Cool. Interesting. YA fantasy romance. I just am making assumptions in my brain. I feel like I 100% judge books more on titles than I do like a cover image, even though I know most people make decisions off of pretty covers and things like that. But I think because making a title is really difficult for me, I'm going to judge your title because I feel like that says more than your cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The title the title gets sorry. The title gets me the first time, and then when I see the cover, that will reinforce, yes, I definitely want to try this out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed.
I'm jumping over to Goodreads real fast to put a note on my thing that, yes, I would like to read this book. Because that's how I keep track of all the books I want to read.
Yeah. My Goodreads is incredibly long.
I stopped using Goodreads and I use Storygraph now, so.
I just haven't dedicated my time to Storygraph because Goodreads is just all my friends on Goodreads. I've used it for years. It's just what my brain goes to, but I should probably go over to Storygraph because Goodreads is trash.
Yeah.
I do have Storygraph as well, but the majority of my TBR list is still on Goodreads.
Mm-hmm. It's just easy.
I just made a hard decision and just ditched Goodreads. I was just I'm doing this. And I still have the app because sometimes being that Storygraph is still new and Amazon runs the world, it's just easier to look up recommendations on there. Yeah. I don't pay for the Storygraph premium yet. I want to, but I don't have that ability yet. So it's sometimes I am forced to go over there when I'm looking up something on Google, but I don't intentionally use it.
Fair enough. I still like their list functions, and I haven't. I don't know if StoryGraph has that on their, because I'm on their free version.
Mm-hmm.
So if once they get that, I'll be like, oh yes, thank you.
Because they kind of, instead of like a list, they have like tags where like that you can make. So like I have a whole tag list for Latin and Latinx books, and if I just hit the tag, then I see all the books I've read and want to read, or currently reading, like in a list form.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So the type of lists I like on Goodreads are like the community ones. So best site or space opera, and then people can add books to the list, and then you can vote on it if you liked it or not, and then it will rank it. So that's the sort of thing. But I do like StoryGraphs, the ease it has for creating challenges, and then you can easily join a challenge and follow prompts. I do like that's a very easy thing that I like that they do.
I was trying to get into that for one of the Hispanic Heritage Month things I was trying to do. And then I was like, I'll go back and figure this out because I couldn't figure it out in the moment and I didn't have a lot of time. And then I never went back to it.
Yeah. I co-hosted the new Releaseathon earlier this summer with some other people, and I was in charge of doing the StoryGraph list, or the StoryGraph challenge. And I did have a little bit of an issue trying to figure out, and their crew is very fast on getting back to you. If you're like, hey, I'm confused on what I have done wrong, they respond really quickly.
Yeah, I think my friend did her master's thesis on, because she's in library sciences. So she did her master's thesis on one of the databases in Goodreads, and she would just rant to us about how awful Goodreads is. And the other day she just sent us a message and she's just like, Goodreads just got rid of the thing that I wrote my entire master's thesis on. And I was like, oh my God.
It's like, did they read your paper?
Oh man, yeah, they just like, they knew. And she's like, yeah, Goodreads doesn't really like me that much because I just ask the stupid questions.
Oh no. By the way, thank you, Jen, for catching the bot, because I was not even looking at the page.
Yeah, it's just any like motion on the page will catch my eye because I have my computer in front of me. So it's just like any motion and I'm like, oh, that's a Tinder bot. Let's go fix that.
Oh yeah, I think we did it at the same time because I reported it and then I was gonna block it and then it disappeared. So I
removed it, yeah.
And then I saw your notification that you did something. I was like, oh, we must have done it at the same time.
I think I did, because I have never done that before where I've gotten rid of somebody from a stream. So it's just like, I don't know exactly if there's like a button to like remove the channel, the person. And I was like, yeah, okay. I think there's like a hide user from channel and then remove the comment. So
yeah.
Who knows? See, this is why I gave all of you a wrench. So if I miss something, someone catches it. Yeah. And I gave Natalie Locke a wrench as well because I knew that she was going to be checking in on our stream.
I should moderate her again.
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice to know.
Yeah, I can come back after a certain period of time. Yeah, I don't think the bots ever usually do. They kind of just hop around.
Yeah. It kind of depends. Like I was in Stephen Aryan's stream with his, which one was it? I think it was with the literary agent. They had a bot and I reported it and then he made it go away. And then we had another bot come back. It technically wasn't the same bot, but it's like within the same family of those dumb bots. So like it happened like 3 times in the whole like stream. I was like, oh my God, these guys are insistent.
Terrible. Terrible, terrible.
But hey, you got noticed. There's like the plus side of like you got noticed enough that they sent a bot to you.
True, very true. Do we have any other topics that you had saved that you wanted to chat about?
I know this was one I had found that was interesting. So I was curious if the chat wanted to put, using emojis in the chat, what is your Halloween costume? And we can try to guess them.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Please do that. I don't have one this year because Halloween's on Monday and I work on Mondays. So I'll just be chilling in my regular clothes. I'll be going as myself on Halloween. But
yeah, I'm not doing anything special for Halloween. But I am having like a midnight stream for Nano. So
very nice.
I've never been able to stay up for those. I'm always like, I'll sleep and I'll just wake up in the morning.
I am a night owl. So
yeah,
I'm awake at all hours of the night.
I don't know is what I'm gonna guess that is.
Yeah. It's like, oh, yeah, costume.
I thought in like the really tiny emojis on the side, it looked a little bit like the zombie emoji. And I was like, oh, you're going as a zombie? That's cool.
Yeah, that's why I looked on the live because I have the live stream up and it's bigger. The picture's bigger. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, last year I did Annabeth Chase because my friend had a Halloween party. And that was easy. That was easy. I just bought one of the shirts from Percy Jackson and wore that with jeans.
Hey,
and then I made the necklace bead thing. I think this year, though, my friend is doing her birthday on the 29th, and she told us all to dress up witchy, but like not like traditional witches, like the ethereal Florence and the Machine witch vibe. So very floaty, and all of us are very excited about it.
More like white witch kind of thing.
Like that song WITCH that's floating around from TikTok by Devin Cole. It's a good song. It's a bop, but yeah, one of those. One of those. Is it just Shannon in the chat? It's just Shannon.
Yeah, we have 9 people watching.
There's just 9 people not wanting to participate. Come on, guys. Let's go.
I had a hard time. I'd make one myself. Yeah. I agree.
Oh, we got one.
I go for that.
I think that is a couch potato, but giving out candy.
Oh. Yep. Or eating candy.
Yes, I love the song Witch. Yeah, it's my first Halloween in this place, and I don't know if there's going to be kids coming to the door because I have a condo that's like 2 levels, but my door leads directly outside. And I know there's kids in this complex, but I'm also not going to be home when most kids are going out trick-or-treating. So I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be kids coming to my door. That's weird.
Yeah.
I know when I first moved here, we tried to do the candy, but the community I live in, it seems like everybody goes to like a downtown location and they do like a parade of like all the shops give out candy. And so it's like a parade of costumes. I went one year and I was just like, this is why nobody knocks on my door on Halloween. You are all here.
Oh, that's so sad. The trick-or-treating is like the best part. My mom told me that I can go home and hand out candy there. And I'm like, I finished teaching because I teach piano Monday nights and Tuesdays. I'm like, I finished teaching at like 8:15. There's no more kids coming out at that time of night, except for like the teenagers. But there's not a lot of teenagers in my parents' community. Eating candy on the couch with my lights out. Yeah, that's the perfect time to watch a horror movie, Lynn. It's a perfect time. As someone who does not watch horror movies, perfect time to watch horror movies. Or Hocus Pocus. That's my kind of Halloween movie.
Yes. For years, my dad would dress up as a penguin because I was back. My mom, when we were little, she did. Everyone would have a felt costume. We'd all be the same. And the last year she did it was penguins. And after that, my dad's like, "That's it. I'm just a penguin for the rest of this time."
I love it.
So the kids would come up to the door and he'd be like, trick or treat. And if they said trick, he would reach into their bags, just like take a handful of candy. He always gave it back, but just to like watch their eyes, be like, what is happening?
You said trick. Man, I've never had any kids say trick. It's trick or treat. It's always treats. Always treats.
I think they've learned.
Yes.
Yeah. It's like, I want the candy.
Yeah.
Or the soda. Like we would have people in our neighborhood who would give out soda as well.
What? I don't understand that. You're just weighing the kids down.
So, I haven't seen the second one, Shannon. Is it good? Or is like
I watched it. It's good. I mean, it's enjoyable. It was kind of like funny. And like it was nice. I don't know. I saw someone else do like an unofficial review. It wasn't like they were reviewing it, but say that possibly because we're older, it might feel a little bit different. It doesn't feel exactly the same.
Yeah.
But it was still enjoyable because my sister came down from Phoenix from the capital, and we watched it because she was there that weekend. She wanted to do like a whole family thing, and it was nice because we were all together watching it.
I need to watch it. I watched the first Hocus Pocus for the first time when I was in university. I was old to watch it for the first time. And I thought it was so sweet and nostalgic because it was reminiscent of like the Halloween Town vibe, and those were my movies as a kid.
Oh, I loved Halloween Town.
Oh my God, Halloween Town is the best. And I love the fact that the girl from Halloween Town is married to the boy from Halloween Town. 10 out of 10.
My sister just told me that. Yeah,
it's so good. But yeah, I was watching Hocus Pocus, and it was just such a fun thing because I was sitting in the front room, like in charge of the trick-or-treating with my dog, and like the trick-or-treaters and my parents were just like, what are you watching? And I'm like, I am watching a fantastic Halloween movie. Get out of here. But I think the other day I was at home and my mom had found Hocus Pocus on TV and was watching it. And she's like, what the hell am I watching? And I'm like, trust me, get all the way through. And by the end of it, she was like, that was so stupid. But then she was just like, but aw. And I'm like, yeah. That's the feeling. It's it's heartfelt. It's lovely.
I remember watching it when it came out on Disney Channel.
Yeah.
So
you can't not love it.
My aunt's birthday's in February. I mean, not February, in October, and she's like Halloween, like fanatic because it's her birthday month.
I love that.
I have like a very vague memory of her being excited that the movie was going to come out, and we all watched it at our house because we had cable and she didn't. So
I love that. My husband
I was going to say, this is a great prank, Shannon.
Yeah.
My husband would approve.
Yeah. When I was a kid, one of our neighbors did those kind of things. He would sit out. He loved Halloween and he loved scaring people. Like he scared me so much one year that I just started crying in the middle of his doorstep, and he felt so bad. He felt bad for like months afterwards. Every time he like would see us, he'd be like, I'm so sorry. But first of all, I was like 8 and he had one of those like animatronic spiders at the in his hidden away in like the cover that covers your like porch or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you walk out of it, I think he would trigger it, not movement, because we were there and we had like knocked on the door and he opened up the door and that's when it dropped. I fully cried. But he did pranks like that. He would sit on like their front lawn on a bench dressed up as like Michael Myers from Halloween and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, people love Halloween. I was driving around today and I saw one of those 12-foot skeletons and it scared me so much because I wasn't expecting it to just be like over a fence. And I'm like, okay, that's too much. Where do you put that? Where do you store it away?
We have a house in our neighborhood.
If it's an air one, maybe it like collapses.
Now, have you seen those 12-foot skeletons?
I only see like the air things that are in Walmart.
No, they're wild. I've seen them on TikTok every once in a while. They're like, you assemble the skeleton and it's like 12 feet tall. It's wild. And like, where do you put the pieces afterwards? They're giant like pieces of skeleton. Maybe I can find a picture of it. Hold on. Open skeleton. Yeah. Let's see if I can. I think I
Put
can
it in
share
the
the
Discord.
screen. Yes. Can you see it? I think
Rachel
you have
probably
to-
has to approve it.
Yeah, okay. So they're like legitimate 12-foot tall skeletons that just kind of hang out in your yard.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
Like who has the space for this stuff?
I've seen those around my neighborhood. I want one.
I would think they're fake if I saw that on like a picture. Oh my
Right?
god.
Or like 100%, they just kind of chill it. Like there's one with a dinosaur. That's pretty
With
fun.
the dinosaur.
I mean, I would just leave the dinosaur up all year round.
Oh, I love
Same.
that one.
Same, but like they're huge.
Oh my god.
And you know, I showed a picture to my husband last year of I was visiting my brother in Arizona, and it was close to Halloween, and his neighbor had done a skeleton, not the big one, it was just regular size, crawling up the side of the house with one hand on the gutter. And I was like, that would be so cool with a big skeleton.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. I don't know how you would like secure that though.
Yeah, I don't know how they did it.
Yay, Shannon.
Yeah, hi.
Hey, if anyone has a bingo, she was late.
For good reason. You were in another stream.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I don't know why when I signed up for that productivity, I thought it was on Sunday. So I just got confused on the date, and I was like, okay, the only one I'm in on Saturday is this one, and then doing all productivity on Sunday. And then I looked at it when people are putting their thumbnails up, and I was like, wait, those overlap.
That's good.
You did exactly what I was terrified of. Oh, sorry, Rachel.
Oh, no, you're fine. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying you did exactly what I was terrified of doing.
Well, I did it for you, so hopefully you won't have to do it.
Yeah.
I know for me, because I'm not on the Eastern Seaboard, I was like, what is the math again for when I was setting up the stream? I'm like, no, I have to put on my time. What was that? Then I had to go like double check to make sure I was right.
I had to do that a couple times. I think for the first time I had to read the date a few times because in my head it was the 21st, but the 21st is Friday. And I was like, that's not right. And then EDT, I was like, I have no idea what that is. So I was asking my Google. I was like, what time is that here for me, please? It's only an hour off, but I don't know anything.
I would say mine's an hour off too from EDT because I'm Central, but I had to put
same.
Google too. I'm like, think of it. I'll go ahead or I'll go, and I'm like, about half the time I'll get it right. So,
yeah. Is EDT the same as EST?
It's when you do the daylight savings, when you flip with the daylight, we're having daylight savings coming up, then you change it.
Oh, that makes so much sense.
That's why we have CDT and CST.
Yeah, I never knew.
No,
that.
don't feel bad, Jen. I did not know that until this year because I came up with the AuthorTube writing conference, and I put everything EDT. And Margaret Pinard, right? She's my partner now for the AWC, but she wasn't earlier this year. She reached out to me. She's like, we're an EST, and I was like, I don't know what that means.
Yeah, I don't know the difference between EST and EDT. Yeah. Thank you.
She broke it down for me.
That's good. That's good to know because I know it's like Central Standard Time.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I didn't know that either. So
look at that. You learn something new every day.
It may change next year because the Senate has passed the bill to get rid of daylight savings time, but the House and the President have not approved it yet.
I wonder if that's going to do anything for anyone who's not in the States because I'm in Canada. So what's that
might make it more attractive
for
your government.
Yeah.
I don't know. I live in Arizona and we've never had daylight savings time. It's always confusing when everyone else moves.
Yeah, my brother
like that one year where we had the World of Writeathon, the camp in the middle of the daylight savings time.
Oh, no.
I can't keep up with everyone else's changing.
Yeah. My mother-in-law lives in Tucson, and so for that reason, I have to use the app to be like, what time is it there?
Mm-hmm.
Also, my sister lives in Japan. Same thing. I'm like, we've changed times. How is this going? Because I know, so at one point in time, I lived in Guatemala for a short time, and my parents were calling me because it was Mother's Day, and I gave them the time. not realizing that their time had changed due to daylight savings. So they actually called an hour early and had to call back.
So my first writing sprints, I was a co-host on. So it was the first ones I ever did was with Colin. And he was going to come on my channel and help me with my sprints. So I went on his channel first so he could kind of show me the lay of the land. He told me the time. I plugged it in. Now he's from the UK. They change a week before us on the daylight savings. So when I plugged it into Google and it told me what time it was, I did it before the daylight savings changed over there. And so I showed up almost an hour late to the sprints. I felt so bad because he was helping me out.
Oh, no. Oh, man.
So that's why when you were asking how would that affect Canada, that might be part of it there because the UK is off from the US.
That's just going to make the world a more confusing place. We just need to accept that winter is shitty and we have like maybe 6 hours of daylight. It's fine. That's it.
So in Canada, do you guys switch time?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. We're on the normal like CST or CD, whatever, Central and Eastern and all that good stuff. So we match the States. But yeah, I was like, if the States changes, does that mess up the entire world? Because if the rest of the world's on like time zone stuff.
Well, we still have time zones. We just won't have to worry about switching around.
Switching it,
It'll just be one standard. Like,
and that's what I was wondering. Will that mean that, like, for Central, will we stay, Central Standard Time? I'm assuming we'll stay Central Standard Time versus Central Daylight Time. But
yeah, probably. Who knows?
I'm curious because I'm wondering if we will stay with Mountain Time or if we will go to Pacific Time.
Yeah, because you're right in the middle.
Yeah, because we switch based off of everyone else's daylight savings time. Half of the year we're Mountain Time, and then the other half of the year we're in Pacific Time. So, which is always nice when websites acknowledge that we don't change, and when they're asking your time zone, they actually have something that says Arizona time zone or like Phoenix time zone.
Yeah.
I'm like, yay! Now I don't have to just like arbitrary like pick Pacific or pick Mountain, and then know at some point it will be wrong.
Yeah, it's always fun because it's, I think, for at least Canada, some of the that's cute. I love these emoji things. It's sometimes it's like, okay, well, you'll have like my city as the Central Standard, but sometimes it'll be Chicago, and I'm like, I don't know if that's underneath me or like I don't know. I don't know the geography of the states, which is always fun.
I could understand that. That's not fair.
Yeah. Who knows? I just let my watch tell me what time it is, and I'm like, okay.
So Natalie has done a nice stump.
Yes. Is it Pennywise the clown from It?
I'm wondering if she had a second emoji next to the clown, but it's like a special one, so it's not showing up because it's a square.
Yeah, it's a coin. You can see it on the live stream. There it is.
Yeah. I don't even know what Pennywise is, so I would have never guessed it.
Have you not seen Stephen King's It?
I can't watch horror stuff.
Or like seen promos for it?
No, I don't watch
Pennywise the clown. Yeah, no, it's from Stephen King. Stephen King's It.
Yes, you did, Jess Eva. I was on the other channel. I accidentally overlapped the streams. I thought they were on different days, and then for some reason, the productivity one that I was just in, I thought it was tomorrow.
Do we want to get another stream in? Or a sprint? Not stream.
Sure.
Listen, my brain is not here today. It is gone. Far away.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
I mean,
better if she explores it all now than later on in life.
Yeah, well, she's home and you're able to like guide her.
Yeah, maybe just don't let her read it because there's a really disturbing scene at the end that involves the children.
Well, I know my youngest son, he's autistic, and he'll get stuck on stuff. And suddenly, 2 years ago, he decided he was scared of rain because we would have a flood. Don't know where he got that from, but he kept watching YouTube videos on it over and over again. And we brought that up to the psychiatrist. We're like, we're worried that he wants to keep watching this stuff. And the psychiatrist said, no, that's actually good. It's a coping mechanism because the more he the more he sees it, he's like desensitizing himself to it.
Yeah, exposure therapy.
Yes, I was trying to find the right word.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that works almost for, I think just in general, because I guess if you think of all the media that we consume every day, we are so desensitized to all of everything. Like how fast did we get all desensitized to the pandemic stuff, right? Just from the amount of loop that it was going on TV for. So that makes sense that he's in a way trying to like get over it in a way, like try and neutralize the fear by just witnessing it over and over and over.
Which is interesting because he's doing it probably without realizing what he's doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I did. I thought that was interesting too. It was like he like knew what to do to try to cope with it.
Yeah, that's cool.
Well, I mean, they say in emergency management that if you want to have a plan and talk it out through before you actually have to live it. So then if something goes wrong, you already know what you're going to do.
Yeah.
I do that
that's what I'm saying. Like, oh, yeah.
When I drive, I'm like, if that car in front of me decides to do this, where am I going to go? Or if that car in the other lane swerves into my lane, where am I going to go? I'm constantly thinking that when I drive. It's a little bit anxiety.
Yeah. Or my husband would say that's good driving skills. He's like, it's situational awareness. All right. So you and Jen had mentioned doing another sprint. Would you guys be down for doing like a 30-minute one?
Sure.
I don't think Dolores wanted to. She was like, so like, okay. They said yes, so I have to say yes.
You can get up in the middle and have like a food break or something.
I will probably get distracted. It's like around 20, I'm just like, whatever reason, my brain's just like, this is too much concentration.
No, that is fair.
I'm good with 22.
One for 20 then.
Yeah.
That's why like my long sprints are 25 because it gives me like 5 minutes of the beginning of the sprint and the end of the sprint.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. It gives you like a time to unwind in your brain.
Yeah.
No, if a sprint goes on too long, then I'm just like, and I'm gone. I
think it depends on what I'm doing. I think if I'm fast drafting, I can usually settle into the story, and then all of a sudden the 30 minutes goes by like this. So depends what I'm doing.
All right. All right, so let's go ahead and do 20 minutes. Welcome back. And how did you guys all do?
My neighbors are having an afternoon music festival right now. It's so loud.
I got a little over 5 minutes of my video edited, and it's I think it started at 45 minutes. So
My sprint was good. I got first opening scene kind of planned out, and I've started second scene, and now I'm on to the third. So that was more productive than the first scene was, or the first sprint was.
What about you, Dolores?
I finished my poem, so, or at least I feel like I finished it. So I have to go back and like read it through.
But... Are you gonna read it to us?
No. No, I have to. I don't think I have everything I want to say like clearly defined. So
I think it's scary to read your work, anyways. I did it once on Barrett Laurie's channel. I read a poem, and I was like shaking the whole time.
Oh. If this wasn't like the first time I wrote it, and I was just overviewing it, probably. But
especially reading your stuff out loud
for others to hear.
Yeah. Did you guys ever do live readings?
I had a short story published in a literary magazine, and I think it was 2012, and I was invited to read it at a college campus. So I did. I was shaking the whole time I did that too.
Yeah, I had a couple pieces published in my university's literary mag. And whenever we did launches, we did like people could read. So it was always like, who wants to read kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And we all did because I was on the team for it a couple years in a row. So it was like, I had to, but yeah, I don't know. I'm good at doing these things. I think it's the apprehension of the before that is the worst, is the anxiety builder. It's just like waiting to get up there and then just having to be like, okay, calm down. You're going to be fine. But one of my friends actually, she regularly is just like, you remember that piece that you read that one time? And I'm like, yeah. And she goes, I'm still affected by it, my guy. And I was like, oh, thank you. Oh, thank you.
For me, no, I've never read anything beyond maybe like a sentence or two for like a writing group. But I've also never published anything either.
How was the sprint for you guys, Rachel and Shannon?
For me, it went well. Just still kind of trying out a story idea and getting into it, kind of filling out the personalities of my characters.
I love that.
Do you plot, or are you like a discovery writer?
I am a discovery writer. I am 100% what's going on.
I mean, I'll like write down bullet points for my beats, but they end up changing a lot anyways. So, which is why I decided to put my novel aside today. I wrote 2,008. Wait, I have it still. I wrote it down. 2,389 words is what I wrote today, and I thought it's a hot mess, so I'm not touching it anymore today.
Hey, you can always go back and fix words. You can't fix a blank page, right?
Yeah. I'm just overwhelmed in my mind with it.
No, I get that.
Yeah.
I know that's why for me, I just find that I use the term zero draft because I'm like that first one, it's just getting the words out. It's going to be messy. Mm-hmm. And then I will do more of an outline after I have written out that first draft, because I write my scenes out of order. So I have to put things in order to be like, oh, something should go between these two scenes. They need
I do that too. So just Eva answered your question about if you ever read anything aloud.
Yeah, I see that. I read in high school, because we had like an arts festival every year, and the English teacher would host like you could read poems and stuff. The students could, to like our family and friends, and I did that every year. but I haven't had something like published and someone like invited me to like read or anything. Like, no.
Yeah.
It's not something I ever look forward to.
No. Public speaking, terrifying.
Yeah, I did it. It's, yeah, don't want to do it again.
I feel like it would be nerve-wracking to write something revolving like 9/11 or like a tragedy in general, and like having to like just write it and then have to like express it, and then depending on the content, like hold yourself together.
Especially only a year after.
Well, I went through Hurricane Andrew down in Miami, Florida. We lost our house, but they did a ton of. I had to go to another school because my school was wiped out. But there they had us. I was in a writing program. I applied for it and got it. And there we had to write about our experiences. And they said it was a therapy. And I also took art classes, and they had us paint what we remembered the most from our experiences. Sorry to be a downer on that one.
So my husband and I do sometimes talk about 9/11 and what we remember, because I was still in high school, but he was out of high school. And so that just kind of was making me think there's certain things that each generation has in common that the next generation doesn't have. So like his son, who was 1 at the time, doesn't have that experience at all. To him, it was just something that happened in history.
I was holding my 3-month-old baby. So all I could think is like, wow, this just happened. What world did I bring him into?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I was 4. So my mom remembers it. I don't.
No, I remember in like high school asking my parents, "Oh, what was the Vietnam War like?" And they're just like, "It was happening." And so I was like, "Oh, that's, something we're studying in school. It's supposed to be like a big thing that everybody was aware of." Mm-hmm. It doesn't always affect everyone's day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Have you heard of the zero draft before? I mean, is that like a term you guys are familiar with?
Mm-hmm.
That was something new I learned coming onto YouTube. Zero draft, and I've heard it also called a dirty draft.
Oh yeah,
but
trash draft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I thought of it as more of like a negative thing until more people talked about it.
Yeah.
Like Kavanaugh would talk, and I was like, you know what? This is when, because that was sometimes my hardest point, was writing what I thought was a clean first draft or just a first draft, especially with like my dyslexia. And I was just sometimes I just give up on things because I get frustrated with myself. But after that, I was like, no, I can just do a zero draft and it can just be messy, and then I'll just fix it later.
Yeah, I always tell myself that whatever the first thing I do is with a story is just telling myself the story. So it's just a matter of getting whatever that is down. Whether it's a first draft, zero draft, whatever. I usually call it a first draft because I overwrite like crazy. So it's too many words for like a synopsis.
I used to overwrite, but lately I underwrite now because I concentrate on dialogue in the. I call it a zero draft, but I also call it my first draft because I wrote my first draft of my book I'm working on right now, and it was like all dialogue, and it ended at 40,000 words. So.
I think I first heard of the zero draft concept with getting into NaNoWriMo. And then I was like, I really like that. That fits me. I take that now for myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of tragedy, I guess, because we were on the topic of it, what do you guys like to have those darker emotions reflected in your work when you're writing?
You said darker emotions?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm a bit tone deaf, so sometimes I don't hear everything. So if I ask, it's just because I don't hear all the words. So my first series that I wrote that's published turned really, really dark at the end. And I was so terrified that it was going to be way too dark because the first book is like kind of light. So, and when I finished it, I was so terrified of publishing it, but I did. I had a critique partner, Morgan Lee, if you know her, and she liked it. So I published it, but that's why I'm writing a romantic fantasy to kind of get away from that now.
Nice. Yes.
Go ahead. No, you first.
No, my first book that I finished last year that I put down because I decided I don't want to be a fantasy published reader just yet, or writer, I was calling it like a dark fantasy, like love story, because I Like I literally tortured my main character in the book. So
Dark romantic fantasy is popular right now in the publishing space. It's very popular.
But I also don't want to get stuck there because I want to be traditionally published. So I was like, I have to like make strategic. I feel like I have to make strategic moves. So, and I have way more sci-fi ideas than fantasy.
Just Eva was 20 when the September 11th happened, and her husband turned 22 next day. I was right between you guys. I was 21.
What about you, Rachel?
For me, I think it really depends on the story. Like I have a story concept where it has darker elements, but then I also have other stories that are much lighter. So I guess I just like a balance. I don't mind a story going dark or having dark moments, as long as it is actually part of like it actually flows with the plot or fits the characters. I'm not somebody who like, what can I do to like hurt my character? I don't do that. I'm just like, what's my character gonna do? I kind of let the character drive the story.
Sometimes I'm like, what can I do today? So it's more along the lines of my Dungeons and Dragons campaign that I run for my friends. I'm like, what can I do to really hurt them today? But I usually don't touch dark emotions and stuff unless it just naturally comes up in the narrative. Then I have done the thing previously too where I have tortured my main character. Yep. Literally on screen. And I'm like, yeah, let's do this. I don't shy away from the violence and the grit of like fantasy that can be there, but I don't usually like tragedy is a theme that I have not really touched in my books.
So one of the authors we interview was A.F. Stewart, who's also here on AuthorTube. And she's a horror writer, or among other things, she also writes fantasy and stuff. But one thing I always remember that she said in the interview with her was that she got a lot of traction by going on Twitter every day and saying how many people she killed in her stories.
Oh my God.
That's one way to do it. That's one way to do it. My goodness.
I was just thinking, I know for me also, if I'm writing heavier themes, I found that I need to have time after I write to kind of like process. Yeah. Otherwise, I kind of keep that emotional resonance and it doesn't help me then through the rest of the day.
Yeah, you need to come down from it a little bit.
Yeah, me too. That's why I'm going to romantic fantasy in my next series.
Yeah.
And I've had some of my readers reach out to me and say, hey, what are you doing next in this world? I'm like, nothing yet right now.
Nothing right now. We're going to put some good into the world.
I felt that when because I ended that book on like a very bittersweet note because it's not a romance, it's a love story. So it was a very big difference.
Yes.
And when I started writing this sci-fi romance, it felt very nice. Besides the fact that it had nothing to do with our world at all, total like different universe and galaxy, but like just knowing that everything was gonna be okay at the end, and I didn't have to be so mean, was like, this is nice.
Yeah. You need that sometimes. The brain buffer.
I find I do that even when I'm reading items. Like I'll read a heavier book and I'm like, and I need a romance or I need something lighthearted. Come on.
Yeah. I just did I think it was last weekend where I read 3 like thrillery darker books and then DNF'd another one. But I came out of that and I was like, I just want cozy fantasy. So I went immediately to like my happiest book on my DVR and I was like, yeah, let's do this.
There's cozy fantasy? That's like a genre?
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's what I'm writing
I read fantasy, but I guess if I've read cozy fantasy, I didn't know it was.
Yeah, I think it's gotten more hype this year with Legends and Lattes coming out. But it's definitely a thing.
Number one. Yeah, like The Hobbit would be considered cozy fantasy because it's more of like that classical, like slower fantasy. Anything with just like softer, low-key vibes, like Howl's Moving Castle, that's cozy. What else? There's a whole bunch. But yeah, that's the genre that I am currently writing in.
Are you?
I'm glad you said that, Jen,
pursuing?
because I thought the same thing. I was like, "Is this what is this?" But I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah. Well, I'm old, so I've got to learn new things where I can.
Yeah, it's just kicked up steam this year, I think. Like it's always been there, but like
Yeah.
the
Well, you
concept
said
of
The
cozy
Hobbit
fantasy.
could fall in that, and I know like The Hobbit has other like it's considered like high fantasy and
Oh
epic
yeah,
fantasy.
like it
and-
is. I think
yeah.
the whole thing with like Legends and Lattes, for example, by Travis Baldree, his tagline of the book is high fantasy but low stakes.
Oh.
So it's like this. It's a high fantasy world, which is like mine, but it's just like an orc running a coffee shop, which is just like the best thing ever.
That sounds cute, actually.
Yeah, it's so good. So favorite book of the year is Legends and Lattes for sure.
It's on my list.
Yeah.
Are you pursuing traditional publishing as well?
Not with this. With my middle grade, I currently have on Query, but with this series, it'll be self-published because I want to try. I just want to try. I want to do it myself to see how it goes.
It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited about it though. I think it'll be good.
I enjoy it much better. I did Query years and years ago. Never got even a single response. Sent out like 50 query letters. So, yeah.
I've gotten responses. I've not really gotten. I near the end because I haven't really picked up back in the query world for a couple months now. But near the end, I was actually starting to get like personalized responses, like more of just like, nice. No, sorry, you're not a good fit.
Rejection.
Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like you can tell which ones are the automatic responses and which are like, no, the person actually wrote this email.
I think that's what I meant. When I said I didn't get responses, I meant I didn't get any personalized responses. I got all the form rejections.
Yeah, lots of form rejections. So many. But with my middle grade, I really want to traditionally publish that because indie publishing middle grade is a lot more difficult to get that into the hands of kids. Like the only way you're going to really get it into the hands of kids is if you have it in bookstores because it's kids, right?
You have to go through the parents.
Amazon. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the one thing that I want to do eventually will be hopefully hybrid publishing in a perfect world would be nice. But yeah.
I listened to a lot of podcasts and I don't remember who it was now. And it was several months ago and I can't retain that information, but I remember the author they had on the podcast, she wrote middle grade and she was self-publishing it. And her way of marketing it was kind of unique, but I couldn't tell you what that is now because I can't remember.
Yeah. You'd have to be really savvy with your marketing for middle grade. For self-publishing, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it had something to do with librarians. I think she talked to librarians at schools and things like that.
Yeah.
I would say I've heard some people who self-publish for like middle school age, and they talked about how, going to the school and like doing events that really helps them get more readership.
Yeah, it's the legwork. It's making the kids excited for it, right? But yeah.
Then they go home to their parents, I want to read this, or I read this.
Yeah. Getting into the hands of teachers and then the teachers read it to their class kind of a thing.
If anything, though, even in traditional now, you're going to have to do that.
Yeah.
Maybe not as hard, but because of what Barnes & Noble is doing. So.
True. Very true. I always forget that Barnes & Noble is kind of a shit show right now. I'm just like, Indigo's fine. Canada's good. But yeah, that's wild. I don't know why they would do that.
Who knows? Who knows the truth?
They just don't want to have battles with people.
Yeah. Ooh.
Sure, it's all to do with money somehow for them, but I don't know what that thinking was.
Capitalism runs the world.
So what about you, Dolores? Are you interested in being self-published, hybrid, traditionally published?
I mostly say traditional, but as I've gotten more into poems and I'm like doing the commissions and stuff now, I'm thinking I have like a collection of poems that I haven't done anything with, that I'm thinking I might continue doing poems, but like self-publish some poems. But all my like novel fiction will be traditionally published if I get everything,
In a perfect world. Fingers crossed.
Yes.
For me, I think I'd like to be a hybrid, but I think it would depend on the story which way I would want to go.
Yeah.
But I'm also trying to read more self-publish, and actually a part of a team for the self-published science fiction contest. So I'm in a team of 8 where we're reading 28 books to kind of see, or we're reading 10 to 20% at this moment of those 28 to see which ones would we continue with. And that will be like whittled down to, I think, 6 that we will read in entirety. And then there's like 9 other teams that are also doing this.
Wow.
She's got videos of it on her channel talking about it.
Yeah.
I went and looked it up from, I think you had a link in there or something, one of your description boxes.
Yes, yeah. And this is, there's also the self-published fantasy blog off, which was the original. And so that it does it for fantasy books as well.
Oh,
cool. That's really cool.
Yeah, I feel like for like poetry and stuff, it's much harder to be traditionally published. And I mean, all writing in general can be very elitist, but I feel like poetry definitely falls into line with like the like literature group of novel writing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't want to mess with those people or deal with that or any of that. So I'm like, I'll just do my own thing here. Especially because I don't like writing like traditional like haikus and stuff. Like I don't like to do that necessarily. So I'm like, I'm just gonna do this over here, and then I'll play in this world here. But I'm gonna just be over here.
Poetry is hard to market as well. Many of the authors we've interviewed have done poetry, and one that's all he has done is poetry so far. Or he's writing a novel, but it's not out yet. Peter Onkonkwo, and he's got a YouTube channel, and he actually will talk. He only does indie books on his channel. Mm-hmm. So it's his way of trying to get the word out. And he says he does that because he knows that his poetry is hard to get market. And it's his way of making connections with other people too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know like Ruby Carr and I don't know, there was that boom a little while ago with all like the more, I don't want to say like lyrical poetry, but like the simple poetry books that were coming out when Ruby Carr became big with Milk and Honey a little while ago. But yeah, other than that, I don't know how easy it would be to get that published.
Yeah. Or if you self-publish it, it's kind of hard to market it. Because I don't, for as an indie author, I can go book a promotion, through e-reader News Today or something. But I don't think poetry is actually like something on there you can book it for.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm like vaguely aware of that. So that's why I'm kind of just like, it would be just a thing that would be there that I would do occasionally. That could also tie in with other stuff I'm doing.
Yeah.
With like the posts I put on Instagram of poetry, and then like with commissions, and it'd just be like, whatever.
You say you do commissions. What does that mean exactly?
So on my Ko-fi, I have commissions for outright like romantic or like nice poetry that you can use. It's like a digital purchase, but you can use it to put in like a card for like birthday or anniversary or something. You can, if you want to print it out and people tell me like dimensions, I can set up a dimension and you can have a design or something like that. I just don't allow people to post it. I'm like, you can do what you want with it. You just can't post it anywhere because it's mine. Mm-hmm. But and then I have, just because I know I posted on social media that I have like more spicy-esque poetry, that if people want something a little bit more risque for their partner or something, you have to pay a little bit more and have to be a member on my Ko-fi to do it, because there's a fine line I have to walk with Ko-fi about 18 plus stuff. So I'm like, if we're gonna hold hands doing this, then you're gonna have to pay me a little bit more, just so I don't get in trouble and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool. I used to write poetry for people who needed it, but I did it for free, not thinking smartly about, I should charge.
Yeah, it's work. It's work. You should always charge for your work.
Well, I was in the military and people knew I was a writer because I wrote all the time. And they're like, hey, can you write a poem for my girlfriend for Valentine's Day? I'm like, sure.
Yeah. And the appeal is I can, versus like going to like Hallmark or something like that, or like the grocery store, I can personalize the poem to like your person. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
I would usually ask like the person you want it for, like what's their favorite thing, favorite color, or anything like that, so I could try and include it. Yeah, I just never thought to charge for it. I should have.
Well, Ko-fi like had set up, like revamped their commissions and stuff, and they were like pushing all the like you should do it and whatever. And I was trying to think, I'm like, well, what could I do that could be realistic but also like help me getting a little bit of money? And I'm like, I could write poems.
Yeah, that's smart. Very smart. I have a Ko-fi, but I don't do anything with it.
Hey, if it's there, it's still helpful.
See, I'm always amazed with anybody who writes poetry, because that is the one part of writing that my brain just does not work with. I'm very much narrative, and I'm like, okay. But I enjoy getting to read different types of poetry.
Yeah. My brain doesn't work for poetry. There's certain poems, because English major, there's no way you're not going to be able to study. You're not going to have to study poetry in university. Mm-hmm. So I had to deal with it. But there was a few that I was like, I really like this. But yeah, my brain doesn't work for poetry. It's interesting for writing or reading most of the time.
I'm very picky when I read other people's things. But I think it's also because, again, I don't tend to write like what you would class, or like I feel like traditional like poetry, and my poetry tends to be very like narrative. Like I'm definitely doing like more of a story, but just in a poem stance. Which on the flip side, I can't write like short stories or like flash fiction, because then I just keep wanting to write more. But if I turn it into a poem, then it kind of works that way.
I know poetry is difficult for a lot of people. I would say for most people, it's kind of difficult. I used to teach college English and literature. And in my literature classes I taught, we had to have a section on poetry. And so the best way that I did it is that I had every student choose a song and break it down. And they did a project on it. And then finishing at the poetry section, they had to present their material on how the song is like poetry, metaphors, similes, all these different things you might find in poetry. Theme, things like that. And I used to love that too, because I would learn about new music.
Yeah. If you pick someone like Hosier, his music, if you break down his lyrics, it's literally like he's singing a poem. It's just stunning. And I'm like, oh, this is so good. That'd be a really cool way to go about poetry, especially with kids, because there's no way you're going to be like, let's read this Shakespeare sonnet. Like, it's not going to work very well. But that's really cool.
I did expose them to some of the greater poets and stuff like that. It was just like one poem here, one poem there, enough to show them how poetry has evolved over time. And I also would do I would show videos of spoken poetry. The name for it. It's spoken poetry, but something spoken, or spoken something. Whatever. I can't remember. Samuel L. Jackson did one. I love to do his video. Samuel.
Spoken poetry, spoken words, spoken something.
It is just it's been too many years since I've been taught. Poetry slam poems.
Oh, you know what? I was thinking that's what you were saying, but you kept saying poetry. Spoke. I was like, no, it can't be that. So I was just like, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah. It's been too many years since I was teaching. It's been like 4 years since I've taught, but I've downloaded the information and a lot of it's gone.
That's a lot of time within the education. My parents are teachers, so.
But yeah. I like slam poetry, and that I would start off the poetry section with that, because the kids would really get into that.
Mm-hmm. So. Yeah, it's more approachable than let me stand up here and read you Lord Alfred Tennyson's "Lady of Shalott." Let's go, which is my favorite poem. But it's just like when you do different things. I guess "The Lady of Shalott's" not a good example, because when we started studying that, my professor brought in the song that's based on Lady of Shalott, where this singer-songwriter took Lord Alfred Tennyson's poem and turned it into an actual song, and it's beautiful. So she played that for us before we started studying it, and it's just like transformed it all. So
Lorena McKenna, she takes a lot of poems and makes them into songs.
Might have been her. Definitely. It was beautiful. Good song. Good song, great poem. Love it all around. But yeah.
I will never seek traditional publishing. I probably made that clear already, but I just thought I'd probably say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I'm too old now at this point. I'm not like old, but I'm in my 40s. And I'm like, I waited for stuff years ago and didn't go nowhere. So I was like, I don't want to wait. I don't want to keep waiting for someone to say, yes, you're good. You can, print your stuff. But I don't, if I was younger, I probably still would do it.
Yeah. I don't think you're ever too old to seek out publishing, but I think there's a difference between doing it yourself and like doing it the way you want.
Yeah.
And then sometimes being saddled with what the traditional publishing sphere tries to make you into sometimes. So,
and I do think that's it, because I'm older, I'm kind of set in my ways, and I want to be able to choose my book cover, and I want to be able to, so I'm like, I don't want someone telling me that I can't have that title.
Totally valid. I love that.
So does that mean if someone were to, like, one of your books were to blow up or something like that, and they were to offer you, would you say no?
The only thing I'd probably say yes to is if they're offering like translation rights.
Yeah. I never remember about translation rights. That's cool though.
I don't know any language well enough to translate my works myself. And if you don't know it well enough, it's hard to hire someone and know that they're doing a good job because you don't know language.
Yeah. Very true.
And there's also some interesting laws concerning that. I know I like listening to the podcast Creative Pen, and she talked about translating into German. And if she had hired someone from the beginning to translate it, then they would get a writing credit.
Yeah.
Whereas if she used, like, I think Google Translate for German and then gave it to somebody to edit and clean up, and then it was just her name as the author.
Right. I heard that one where part of the copyright for the book would belong to that German translator. And I was like,
interesting.
That is weird. Like, they didn't come up with a story, but
yeah. I guess that's kind of true. Like, my friend was in a Japanese translation period earlier in the year. So a lot of them were like, especially on Goodreads, they're featured as like, this is the author, but then this is the translator, and they're always tied to the book. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I know I was reading a collection of short stories earlier this summer that are translated from Chinese, and then they even had essays from the translators just talking about the process and what it was like, and how you sometimes need to convey cultural information, and you have to make that choice of how much do you add to make that clear to an audience of a different culture.
Yeah.
Translation, I think, is fascinating.
Yeah. I think, I wouldn't mind so much like sharing the name, but you also have to split your payments, what you make from it. So that's why if I had an agent say, hey, we want to do translation rights, I'm like, okay, fine, you take care of it. I don't have to worry about if I'm sharing it with somebody else. I'll just take my check and I'll go.
Yeah. Someone else can deal with that.
Yeah, Courtney talks about that because the reason she has an agent is just for foreign rights and translations and stuff like that. When I found that out, I thought that was interesting.
I have not heard of or seen this.
No. That's kind of cool.
Oh,
that's
wow.
A little bit meta.
Yeah.
A book about a book about a book.
I mean, why not? They do that with TV shows and movies too.
True. So we've sprinted for what, 35 minutes total? We need to get to 50?
Yeah. Do we want to do another 25-minute sprint?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Works for me. Trying to figure out what my neighbors are listening to. It's loud enough that I'm like, I can tell the genre and the vibe of it, but I could not tell you what they're saying, so I can't figure out the song. Although the other day they just decided to listen to the entire Lumineers album at 1:30 on a Wednesday. I was like, okay, I guess they're doing that now.
my apartment complex, this started yesterday. They're resurfacing parts of the parking lot. And so we've been listening to it just beep, 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 beep continually. I'm like, great, this would happen this weekend.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they're putting in new fiber optics in my place.
Oh, that'd be good once they have it done.
Hopefully. But like all week, it's just been this gentle drone of like whatever the hell they're doing outside. And it's just the most annoying. Terrible.
All right, let's go for it.
Woohoo!
Welcome back.
Hello.
7.5 minutes edited that time.
I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 scenes planned out.
Yay. Do you separate scenes by chapter, or do you have like multiple scenes in one chapter?
It depends on how long the scene goes for. Sometimes it'll be multiple scenes in a chapter if they're like shorter, more like snippety scenes, but some scenes can go on for a long time. So they're usually just one chapter a piece.
Gotcha.
But I split my Scrivener document into individual scenes when I'm doing a first draft, just so I have it nice and easily laid out. And then after I deal with chapters.
Same. For me, I kind of went through like reading research, looking at bookbinding in the Middle Ages. And so that's kind of what I was reading.
Well, you say you listen to Joanna Penn's podcast. Have you heard her ones where she talks about how she did bookbinding for some of her books?
I have not. I will have to go back and look at those.
And she took like a class on it, and she started doing it. Yeah, it's kind of cool.
I took a class in university about the history of the book, and it was very interesting learning about like the marginalia and the actual craft of books and like what goes into it, especially from back then.
I think last year, Murphy Napier, who does a lot of more booktube stuff, did a series about how a book comes about. And one of her episodes talks about bookbinding and restoring books. It was a really fun one to watch.
Yeah. I said there was another author tuber, I think, who, I don't know if it was Mandy Lynn or Bethany Atazada. One of them they showed, I think it was Mandy Lynn, where she took off the cover of her book, one of her books, and then made a book cover and rebounded. And
ooh,
I think it was Mandy Lynn, but I feel like that's wrong. I don't remember who it was.
I don't remember her making a video about that. So it may have been Bethany. Yeah.
I like watching those TikToks with people who bookbind. Just as a hobby, they're like, I'm going to bookbind some fan fiction. And I'm like, this is great. Good for you. This is beautiful. Looks so cool.
How was the sprint for you, Dolores?
I opened my novel doc and started writing that. I had to reread what I wrote and forgot that I had just written like a full-on hot makeout scene. So I was like, oh yeah, this is where I left off.
Very nice.
So it had just happened.
Yeah. I love that. How about you guys who are watching? How did your sprints go?
I know Natalie went off to get some food and she's back now. She finished something.
Her third flash fiction.
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I gotta think about dinner. I have a D&D game right after this sprint, or this stream. So I get those two words mixed up all the time. After this stream, I have a D&D game. So I gotta think about throwing food in for myself at some point.
At the beginning of this sprint, I went out to go get some of my medicine, my evening medicine for my back. And my husband put together some food and put it on plate. I was like, I was going to get this at 6 when I finished, but okay. I didn't say it because I didn't want him to feel bad.
Oh,
I brought it back here and I'm eating it.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I grabbed a snack.
I usually eat during my streams, so it's fine. Yeah.
I always wonder what kind of funny faces I'm making.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys were noticing for the first couple of sprints, I was fully just singing along with my music.
No, I wasn't noticing.
Yeah, sorry, missed it. Do it on the next one so we can see it. No.
Yeah, because of Taylor Swift's new album, I've been re-listening to all sorts of her music now. So I'm just like, I got a Taylor Swift playlist going, and I'm like, every song, banger, let's go. It's just singing along with them all.
I don't think I've heard any of her new songs, but this is like the second time today I've heard about her songs.
Yeah, she just released the album yesterday, so
that's why I was talking about
it. Thursday at midnight, yeah. So, and it's called Midnights, her new album, so it was a whole thing. But
timely.
Yes, quite. It's very good. As a Swiftie, it's very good. Do
you watch MK Williams? Probably not. She's So MK Williams is she's a self-publisher here on YouTube. But she's like a total Taylor Swift fan. And like she dedicated one video. Like all her videos are very like self-publishing, finances, self-publishing. And then she's just dedicated one whole video to Taylor Swift. I was like, what?
Incredible.
Yeah.
And
it was just so off the wall for her because she's very, focused.
Amazing.
Yeah.
You and probably YouTube were like, what is this video? What did you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, the YouTube algorithm probably just like panicked.
I don't know what to do with this.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, she's going to be a good resource for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was a beta reader for her next nonfiction book, which is like basically a breakdown guide. If you want to self-publish, here's where you start. If you choose this path, like if you want to go wide, go this path here. If you want to go KU exclusive, go this path here. It's very in-depth, the workbook is. So
good to know.
Publish it in January.
I had to think because I'm in Canada, so things are a little bit different here. So it's a matter of being like, okay, how do I self-publish in Canada? So I have to do a little bit of research about that. But
well, one thing that she did, but I don't think she had a Canadian on there. She did the something Olympics last year, where basically she found people who were in different countries to talk about the self-publishing process in those countries.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely have to check her out. Thank you for the recommendation.
I love her. She's a very sweet person.
I love it.
I do not keep track of words.
I don't think I can the way that I'm writing.
Not in like a session by session. I keep track monthly.
I did, I think I said it probably on the last break, but I did 2,389 for today. So
I'm going to see how many I've gotten down.
But I didn't write this stream, but some people do say, they're like, what are you doing? Are you talking your book and you're speaking your book? And I do speech to text. So sometimes I'll be talking, but I'm doing speech to text. So it's easy to count my words through there because it gives me the word count right there on the screen.
That makes sense.
What do you use?
I use Speech Texter, which is an online program. It's free. You don't have to sign up or do anything. But what I really like about it is like, say like I do speech to text in it and I close out and I didn't copy the words, which it has an easy button to just hit the copy. You just hit copy, it copies everything. If I close it down, I open it back up, it's all still there. It doesn't go away until I clear it. It's by computer. So if I go to like my laptop, it'll have like what I wrote last there.
That's handy as well, because in case if like something dies,
goes out or something,
yeah,
it's all there. And like most speech to text programs, it has issues with something. So
oh yeah, I mean it doesn't quite always hear you clearly or what have you.
And like my two main characters in my romantic fantasy is Calden and Airy, but does not understand either of those. So they became Jennifer and Cole.
Oh.
And I just do find their place later.
I have done 1,700 words of planning today.
Nice.
I just had to copy paste all of it because I was doing all my planning in like the Scrivener note card thing. So there's no way you can count that word count, but 1,700 words.
Yeah.
And that's really good for planning because I mean, there's like thinking and writing.
Mm-hmm.
I've written a little over 1,000 words today. So.
Nice. Have we sprinted for 50 minutes now?
We have, yes.
Okay, good.
What did you eat for dinner, Natalie?
Natalie, you got a lot done today. Holy man.
Wow.
English. Nice. Yep. I just paid off one of my student loans. I have a few of them this month, so I was very happy about that.
Nice.
Yes, I just got paid yesterday, so I need to go through and pay the bills because that's my role in the family.
I like that role. And maybe that's why I like self-publish, right? Because I'm very controlling. So when like I was dating my husband, he was like, but I'm the guy. Isn't the guy supposed to do the finances? And so when he proposed to me, I had $5,000 in one savings account and I gave it to him and I gave him like some kind of BS about why not there for taxes. Cause he proposed in January. So it was right before taxes and everything. So I gave it to him to hold this for me. He said, okay. A couple months later, I asked for it back. I got $800 back. I said, what did you spend it on? And he said, I don't know. So after that, he was okay with me taking the finances.
That's one way to prove that you actually can't do it, or you're not well at it, I should say.
I think now he's, because he was like the typical bachelor when I met him. So I think now he would probably do well, but I've had the control for so long, I don't know if I would give it up.
When I was first married, we had separate bank accounts. And it took time for me to convince my husband, no, let's put them together. And then I was the one who was working. He was a student still. And it just made sense for me to start paying all the bills. And I just made myself a spreadsheet, and I've been doing it ever since.
I do mine on spreadsheet too.
I should probably be more careful with my money, but it's just me. So the bills get paid. It's fine.
Yes, it does get more tricky when you start adding more people that you have to worry about where the money's going.
Yeah.
And my kiddo, my oldest one, who's an adult and on his own, he was like, Mom, will you be on my account just to make sure I'm doing everything right? And he's never needed my help. He does fine. He saves like a lot of money.
Oh, that's good.
It's nice that he trusts you to that level, that you're not gonna be controlling or something like that.
Yeah. Although he said I'm boring. I'm like, well, you don't really say anything. So what are we supposed to talk about? I just start throwing things out. He's like, I don't want to talk about that. Well, I said, you don't say that when we're talking, because he's very quiet. He's just kind of does his own thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. One of my students is like that. I teach piano, and he's, I don't know how old he is, like 13 or 14. And whenever I'm in class with him, I just fill the air with noise, because he never like talks back to me more than just like responses. And I'm just like, come on, you gotta give me something, buddy. But I know he's enjoying it, because he'll sit there and like I'll see his shoulders moving because he's laughing at something, and I'm like, okay, so because we're still masked. But yeah, he just sits there and chuckles, and I'm like, does this kid think I'm ridiculous? Probably, but it's okay.
Well, at least he doesn't find you boring.
Yeah. Do we have a final topic that we want to chat about?
I have one if you guys are open to it.
Go for it.
What do you think about AI? Whether it's audiobooks, art, or writing?
I don't think I've experienced an AI narrated audiobook.
They're on Google Play. Google's in a beta phase where any author who has an ebook on Google Play can automatically have it translated by their AI program. And it's free for authors to do it. I can't do it because I'm exclusive with KU, so I can't put my ebook on Google Play yet. So I'm hoping it stays in beta next year when I do go wide.
Yeah.
So
go for it.
Go ahead. No, you go.
Okay, so I've been thinking about AI for a while, and I like the idea of having like AI voices, because I think that helps make things a little bit easier when things are being read, not just for ebooks. For the writing, I find it very interesting. I know that there's many people who are like, because I know that for the AI programs to be programmed, they are given modern works, like they're given works throughout different writing periods, but there are people who don't want the AI to be introduced to their works because then they're afraid of plagiarism. So I think that's kind of an interesting concept, because especially since no idea truly is original, we all take a little bit from what we read and what we view and the people around us. So I'm interested, I'm fascinated to see kind of where this is going to go.
Yeah.
For AI artwork, I think it's kind of the same thing as what you were saying with AI writing. It pulls from artist styles all over.
Mm-hmm.
And, the artists are like, I made that. That was my style. I should get, credit and monetary compensation for that. But then the idea is too that, we are influenced by everything that's around us. Right. And some countries don't even believe in plagiarism because they say all ideas that ever were have already been.
Yeah. I think the AI art thing is a little bit more not very great because it's like that's fully stealing people's art, what they've created, and that's their like job most of the time. But I don't know how that would work with the written AI. I don't think AI is in the level of like it could actually release a well thought out novel, you know? Because have you ever seen those people who are like, I fed the AI machine all the Twilight movies and it like wrote a script for me. And it's just absolutely insane. There's no sense of what is happening. It's just not, it's nonsensical. It's awful. So
I put all my book covers into the AI, into one AI program, which I made my book covers.
Mm-hmm.
Not a single one looked like my book cover.
Interesting.
So, and I think it read, because my first book is Blood of the Lily. I don't have no blood on my book cover. It's all flowers and feathers. Mm-hmm. I think it read the blood, and I had like blood like splotches in some of the covers it gave me.
Yeah.
I did see that you had done some AI generated covers on, I just haven't watched the videos yet, but I know I've played a little bit around with the Midjourney program.
Yeah, Midjourney is what I'm using. Yeah.
Yeah. And just, it's very interesting because you put in a word prompt, but you can say like photorealistic, or some people even do like specific, like this actor or actress.
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to see the different styles that come out.
And I do think that I don't think it does some. It doesn't always necessarily take art from an art piece. It takes a style. So you can like say in the style of Pablo Picasso, a potato. And so he's never painted a potato, but it would be painted in the style of Pablo Picasso.
Yeah.
So, but it does. There are what Rachel was just saying, the likenesses of actors and actresses. I mean, that is their face is their brand. And those, the AI will pick up faces that are widely on the internet. Like I've seen a lot of Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie. I tried Ava Max because I really like her, but it didn't come out right. So I don't think there's enough photos of her on the web. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Technology is such a weird thing. There's so much going on right now in the advancement of just the weirdest stuff. But yeah, it's always interesting to think about.
Yeah. I think the way I feel about it is it's not going to go away. That's what I feel. Because whenever we make an advancement technology, we don't usually go backward. We continue forward. But I think that there should be something there, especially if a likeness of someone is used or a very specific part of a painting or artwork or photo is taken, then that person should receive the credit in some. It's almost like, the stock art photos that you can buy. The person who creates the art puts it there. You have to pay credits to access it. It should be something like that. That's what I feel. Not that I want to pay for it, but I am paying for the Midjourney because I can't use any of the images commercially. And I was going to hire a character artist for my trilogy because I'm doing a box set next month. And I thought, well, let me put something different in there. And I talked to an artist, Phoebe Wood. You might know her. She's here on YouTube. I contacted her and she's like, well, give me this, this, and this. And I was like, okay, well, it was a month ago. And I didn't do it because I put everything else first. And then Joanna Penn was talking about the AI art with Derek Murphy in her latest podcast. I think it was the one earlier. I was like, let me just try it. And I played with it and I got some beautiful character art from it. So, but I can't use it commercially unless I pay for it. So I paid for it.
Yeah.
I think it kind of depends. Like, I can understand the art, but at the same time, kind of like everybody was saying, we're all inspired by everybody. So it kind of just depends how much is a copy paste is a copy paste. Because if you want to be really specific, bunches of retellings are all fringing on other people's stories.
Yeah.
How many people have made the night sky but with Star Wars or Batman or something like that, but it still like looks like the Starry Night Sky painting. Like, so I think a lot of the freak out is just the fact that it's AI, and it's like, who they don't know how to. People don't know how to deal with this, and there's only so much control, specifically with art, because it is just kind of, depending on the program, it is just taking from the web, but other things are doing decently well. And then the whole thing of like, are people going to stop paying artists to do art and do it this way? But
I don't think artists have to worry about that, at least not right now.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I've seen and heard a lot
right.
of
That's
that.
the argument. Me too.
Especially because I watch a lot of like anime and like anime people, and people have been talking about like the anime artists, and there's like a group of people being like, oh, this opens it up for people who can't really draw very well but do want to do like anime stories. Oh, this is great. And then there's this other group of like anime manga people who are like, no, this is not good.
There was one video I watched here on YouTube where he used an AI program to write a comic book and then used an AI program to do the artwork and then put it all together, and now he's selling it as a graphic novel. And I was like, huh, is he really a creator?
Yeah. I like the idea of the AI audiobooks, though, because that could definitely help people hard of hearing, right?
Accessibility.
Yeah, definitely a good move towards accessibility, especially with the ability for it to be almost any book on Google Play, right? Rather than, having to pay for Audible and all that stuff. So I think that's probably a better move in that direction. But then again, if it gets good enough in the AI voice, what does that do to audiobook narrators? Does that lose their jobs then? So fine line.
I was going to say that's something that Joanna Penn had talked about as well, is some of the companies that are doing the AI voices are then working out deals with audio book narrators so that they can record their voice. And so then they still, like, they're getting
residual income
paid for their voice being used as an audiobook narrator.
Interesting.
They didn't actually do it. Yeah. So it's a developing field, and it's fascinating to see how things are coming about.
My thought is that, yes, we'll probably lose some jobs to AI, the machine, but there's going to be creation of other jobs to support that AI in creation.
Yeah. Or there'll be definitely, like, again, a new layer of elitists where it's like these very big companies or whatever, they can pay for human voices, and then everyone else gets
computer
the
voice.
automated voices. Yeah. But I like the AI because as I've just been diagnosed with some more eye problems, like, and also just time to physically read a book. It's so hard for me to find specifically like indie books that are audiobooks, and it's hard for me to read them versus listening to them.
Yeah. And also being a science fiction reader, I just like the concept of having an AI assistant.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Especially
programs like me.
Funky. Yeah.
They know what I want to do. But I don't know. I've always thought, and I thought this years ago, that as more and more machines take over jobs, that we would have to move away from the capitalistic type of society into something where, if there aren't that many jobs, but we still have to support people, then how do we do that?
Yeah. You would hope that we would move towards something like the ideology of like Star Trek, where it's like you do jobs because you like it and you enjoy the thing, not necessarily because you have to make a living because there's no currency, there's no money. Like,
I don't think it's something that we'll see in our lifetime, but I think it'll get there one day.
Yeah.
One day. Yeah.
I think capitalist kind of rules, especially in the U.S.
Oh God, yeah. Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I like making money, but it would be nice if I could do my job as a writer and not have to worry about finances ever.
Yeah.
That would be nice, yeah. It's always, what would you do right now if money wasn't an object? And I'm like, travel, obviously. That's so expensive.
So with AI being a technology, I hope that's going to be the topic of some of the presentations in the next Author 2 writing conference.
I'm hoping. So we've only got one topic so far, and that's from Michael Laron from Author Level Up. And he's doing on audiobook narration, I think is what it is. So, but not AI, just how can an author do it?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Audiobook narration fascinates me. It's a really cool field to be in. It's like adjacent to acting. Like you have to be pretty good and pretty solid with your voices and your tone and your ability to go for long hours, especially like voiceover acting or is that what it's called? Voice acting? Yeah, voice acting.
Yes, voice acting.
Yeah, you got to be, I don't know, you have to be really good at it, but it's always intrigued me to get into audiobook narrating.
I know since I started playing with Midjourney, Rachel, to go back to your comment about the AWC, I was like, I wish I could give a presentation on this. But then I went to the Author Tech Summit this year. I don't know what organization puts it on, but it was just a couple of days of just authors who talk about different technologies, whether it's Facebook ads, Amazon ads, just technologies that you use. And I applied. They just opened applications for next year's summit. So I applied talking about Midjourney. I don't know if I'll get chosen, but
cool.
I think by then I'll be a pro. I'm pretty close to it. I've generated thousands of images since I bought my membership on the 15th. That was 7 days ago.
Amazing.
Yes, the nice thing is, like, even if you don't have a membership, you can see what other people are suggesting, at least in the Discord one that I'm
the Discord.
Yeah. So you still get to see the creative things that are coming through.
But what I would say is when you get the membership, you get access to their site. So Midjourney has a site where there's like basically all the new hot trending photos are there. And those photos are so much better, or those pictures are so much better than what you see in Discord. And you can copy the command. So that's the prompt with all the parameters. And I think that's what helped me, because I was watching what people were doing. I still couldn't get my characters to look right. So it wasn't until I joined and I saw a few photos, I was like, okay, what did they do? And I copied that and put my stuff in, and they came out beautiful.
I don't really necessarily have an ideal narrator in mind, but I know that one of my characters speaks in a British accent. So I'm like, okay, that's gonna have to be fun if I end up getting the book in audiobook form. I guess I'll either have to just settle with an American one, like Travis Baldry or something, because he's a good audiobook narrator, or like, what's her name? She does audiobooks for so many things. Natalie something. I follow her on TikTok. She's awesome. Her voice is perfect for books. But yeah, accent wise, probably would be British, but yeah, I don't know.
I have a lot of Irish in my trilogy. Not that it has to be an Irish person, but it would be nice if they could somewhat pronounce the Irish words.
Yeah.
So I'm very picky about my narrators, and I found that I prefer listening to a female voice over a male voice. And also if they don't like do extreme voices for the characters. But I'm not a huge audio fan or audiobook fan normally.
Yeah.
So I'm just very picky.
I'm not, because I'm partially tone deaf, so I can't I've tried listening to like there's free audiobooks on YouTube. Mm-hmm. And I was trying to listen to them and I couldn't understand most of it. So I was like, I gave up on it.
Oh, I audiobook almost every single book that I read, because I need the double focus of like hearing it and seeing it, because I apparently can't focus on anything. But I love audiobooks. They're great.
Yeah. I normally do audiobooks if I'm driving long distances.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. My current work in progress is a romance, which I've heard that a lot of romance authors will get, especially if it's two separate genders in the romance pairing, which I do have a male and a female, that they will get a male narrator and a female narrator. But I think that's more expensive to do two different ones.
Probably.
I would assume so, but it's nice to have the dichotomy, especially because it depends. I feel like some audiobooks will tell you when a chapter ends and like, oh, this is the next chapter, or like the chapter is labeled with like the person's POV, but some audiobooks don't do that, and it's kind of like they'll tell you the chapter ends, but they won't tell you if the point of view shifts. And if it's just one person narrating, it's kind of hard to figure out, oh, even though their voice changed because they're doing a voice for like the man, or the woman's doing a voice for the female, it's really different. But if you have like the opposite sex narrators, a lot of the times the male will still do a voice for the female when she's talking in their spot. And it's kind of funny because you get to see how do they hear or see that other person. And it almost makes it more, at least to me, how I see it, it makes it almost more like I'm watching like a play or a movie or something like that. Than just listening to someone read me the story. It makes it come to life better.
Yeah, it's like those full cast audiobooks. Sometimes, I don't know, like I think a couple of the Neil Gaiman ones are like audio dramas almost. So they're like fully mixed in with like sound effects and music, and it's
all the Star Wars books do that.
Yeah, and I was listening to Dune earlier this year, and most of it was like that. There were parts where it was just the narrator narrating everything because I guess it was too expensive to do the whole book as a full cast. But I always like full cast audiobooks. They're fun.
I think Dune was one of the ones I was listening to on YouTube. There's a couple of different narrators on there.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to interrupt us. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
We have 2 more minutes left for the stream. Let's go ahead and do our outros, and we'll start with Shannon since you came in late and didn't get to do an intro.
Hello, everyone, and goodbye, everyone. Thank you for having me on, Rachel. My name is Shannon. I write under the pen name SC Houston. You can find my channel under the name of SC Houston, where I publish content about my writing and my self-publishing journey. I'm also 1/3 the Self-Publishing Tips and Tricks podcast with Morgan Lee and Ben Pick from Learning to Write, and 1/2 of the duo of the AuthorTube Writing Conference with Margaret Pinard.
Dolores?
I'm Dolores Mado. I like to call myself a storyteller because I enjoy stories in all forms. I'm a gamer. I'm writing a sci-fi romance, and I write poetry, which I also do commissions on my Ko-fi if you want to check that out.
And I'm Jen. I'm from the channel Jen's Bookshelf. I do booktube stuff and authortube stuff occasionally. I'm trying and hopefully on my journey for self-publishing as well. And I'm a fantasy bitch through and through. This was great. Thank you for having me on, Rachel. This is awesome.
Oh, yes. And then I'm Rachel, R in the RK Stumbling Bear, and I enjoy writing as well as reading and just getting to talk about story. And I thank my co-hosts for coming on today and doing this with me. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope everyone has a great rest of the time with the Worldwide Writeathon.
Yay.
Yeah. Good luck, everyone.